Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. And in this video, I want to look at the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. In mundane astrology, this is called the Great Conjunction, and it defines ages. It has quite a bit of significance in how society operates. And the cycles are quite interesting to look at as well, because they tend to move in groups of the modalities. Each conjunction will there'll be many years where it's dominated by a different modality. We're just moving out of an earth dominated modality into an air modality. So we should see for the future a lot more air in motifs, inspirations, archetypes for society. For instance, earth. You could look at modern society with all its building, its land, its wealth accumulation, materialism. That's very earthy, right? Skyscrapers, all the finance and security building and all that, corporatism. Now we're moving into air, so it's going to be much more intellectual, philosophical, technological, right? Even spiritual in many ways. So that's interesting. What on a more personal psychological level, what is the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter do? Well, Saturn is very contractive and restrictive and cold and fearful, and Jupiter is kind of the opposite. It's very expansive, relates to philosophy, religion, spirituality, optimism, faith. It's our generosity, our jovialness, our exuberance for life. And so these two are kind of conflicting in many ways. Saturn can squash Jupiterian upliftment, so there can be elements of depression. It depends on which sign they're in, which is going to be dominant. But if Saturn is good, then there can be, these people can be have tremendous success if it's in a good sign, and do very well for themselves. If Jupiter is strong, they could be more philosophical, creative, scientific. Let's see, Saturn lengthens and makes things last long and endures. So there's a kind of maturity with this combination and expertise, really, in whatever sign or house it's in, especially if it's in good dignity. These can be like really top-notch type people in their field, right? That's pretty much the bulk of it. But yesterday I got a little ahead of myself and I made a video. I thought I was witnessing something when I was just sort of overly focused on my one-track mind. I was used to making these videos, and I had just done okay, guys, don't forget to hit the like button, please, if you can, and share, and subscribe if you haven't already. But I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, I got a little ahead of myself. I thought I was witnessing something, and I was just on my one-track mind, overly focused on my habitual pattern of thinking it was all the same. Any case, Jupiter and Saturn, it was an error, the video I made. Jupiter and Saturn have very unusual cycles. And I just want to demonstrate what that looks like here. And we'll go to now. And we're just going to I just have Saturn and Jupiter here on my chart wheel just to show you, just to remind you. You probably know this, but all right. So in late 2020, we had the conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius, right? And so that started off the they call it the Great Mutation, or something like that, where there's a new era of Jupiter Saturn conjunctions in air signs, right? And that's quite significant for society. But if we look back, just want to make this clear how this works, so there's no confusion. All right, so there was one in Taurus. There. Right around 2000, somewhere mid 2000, okay? And that was the last Earth conjunction. But what you'll see is that around 1980, there was one in Libra, okay? And that started off the modern era of computers and technology, right? Think go back to 1980, 81. That's right when Apple computers, Microsoft computers, everything, all the technology was coming home, and it was all just taking off. So that's air influence. Before then, it was in Capricorn, right? And I'm going to speed through this. Taurus, Virgo. So you're seeing these are all Earth signs. So the modality was Earth, and this dominated, for over 100 years. So 1901 we're at. So Capricorn, Taurus, 1800s, Virgo, Capricorn. So we're going back a ways all right, so 1821 we have Aries. So that was the last of the fire era. And then we have the first Virgo in 1803. They overlap somewhat, and then you'll see Sag. Okay, and just let me show you a chart, just so we're really understand this cycle very well. This is a little confusing, hard to understand, but so let's just go over here. We're at 2020. We have the Aquarius. Before then it was Taurus, Libra, a few retrogrades over Libra, and Capricorn, Taurus. So Capricorn was the last, Taurus was the last, but then before that it was, okay, so 1941 was, 1961 was Capricorn, then Taurus, and then all the way to 1821 was the last fire great conjunction in Aries, then Virgo, then Sag, Aries, and then that goes all the way back to 1643 was the last water in Pisces. That's the water conjunction. So you can see that from 1663 all the way to 1821, that was all fire. And so fire was gonna, inspire a lot of war, a lot of aggression, a lot of passion, but also arts, creativity, and dominating, imperialism, that sort of thing. And then we're into the Earth era, building, land, wealth, all that. And so you can see how this goes and how this dominates all of society. Okay, I just want to point that out. We can go back, and this is relevant because my mind was disconnected. I was overly focused, and then it's why I made the video, because you'll see when we look at these things that obviously we're gonna have to go back pretty far to get celebrities of each sign, which is what I was trying to do, and I was like, what the heck is going on? In any case, it's dumb. Not thinking clearly, but let's jump right in it. Let's go into Aries. And some of these I'm going to have to skip over because there's just nobody relevant. So, but you'll see. This is Dostoevsky. The Russian writer. Oh, let me bring back. We want the whole thing. Yeah. That's pretty much all right. No, it's not right. Not the one we want. No. All right. That's the one we want. Okay. So Dostoevsky has the Saturn Jupiter conjunction in the fifth. And so for entertainment, Saturn's ruling the second and third whole sign houses. Jupiter's ruling the third cusp. So for writing, obviously, entertainment, that sort of thing. Mercury's very, very slow, right? Okay. Moon's out of bounds. Mercury's very slow. So his intellect, Mercury's pretty much conjunct the ascendant, and that's excellent. Even though it's not in great dignity here, let's just check here. Oh, Moon and Mars are in, yeah. It's accidental dignity, okay, and it's disposited by Jupiter. Moon, and then so Mars and Sun are in mutual reception. That's great, but let's see, Saturn. So Jupiter's ruling the ascendant, and the third, right? Okay, yeah. So that's great for writing, and it's kind of epic. This Jupiter and Saturn kind of have an epic quality. You'll see this again and again because Saturn's really making Jupiter things very contracted but elongated at the same time. Saturn endures. So this is the type of person, if they're writing, they're going to write epic novels that are very crystallized, concrete. Even in Aries, even though it's like Saturn's not doing that well, Mars, you know, Jupiter's okay in Aries. It's, you know, and I don't really know enough Dostoevsky to comment on. I just know he's, you know, like a very well-known, obviously, successful writer who's writes these huge novels. Also, Mars is bonifying Aries signs, right, from Leo, and Mars is pretty good because it's mutual reception with the Sun. Yeah, Jupiter is bonifying this Mercury through a sesquisquare, so that's quite good. Pluto, Pluto and Chiron, so themes of death and Plutonic themes. Anyway, I don't want to take too long, but Virgo, Pisces, that's great for creativity and writing. Moon and Gemini. Right. Okay, so that's Dostoevsky. Yeah, definitely seems to be appropriate there. Let's go to Taurus. Oh, okay. Also in Aries is going to be Charles Baudelaire, Louis Vuitton, Bella Bartok, and Gucci. So two prominent designers. So that's important also to note because Jupiter ruling creativity, Saturn being the very refined. It's not refined Saturn actually. It's crystallizing. It's contracting. So it's taking something and making it very firm and hard, which can lead to refinement. you know, when you're talking about Jupiter as a creative, because of Jupiter rules Pisces. So if it's Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, then the artistry is becoming very mature, high level, long lasting, kind of top, right? Saturn wants to bring out the best in us, and it's going to kick our ass in the process, right? So it's not easy, it's not enjoyable, it's not fun, especially when it's not in good dignity, but it can create very refined quality, very top quality. So Louis Vuitton, Gucci. Bella Bartok is musician. Can't remember who Charles Baudelaire is. So you'll see creative works are very going to be like this kind of epic, top quality, top notch. All right, so John Lennon has it in the second house in Taurus, so voice. And he does kind of have a long-lasting voice, right? It's like one of those voices. It's not great. Like, I wouldn't say John Lennon's voice is great, but it's good. I mean, and he kind of has this epic quality to him. Iconic, definitely. And he himself is long-lasting kind of legend, if you will, right? So Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter's ruling the ninth, so philosophy, also creativity. He was very philosophical. Saturn, I have my criticisms of John Lennon, but I'll just leave them alone for now. Saturn's ruling the MC and the 11th house, dispositing the moon, career success. So definitely voice, singing. Uranus is also here in Taurus. Venus is in Virgo, which is interesting. Moon opposite Pluto and Chiron. Definitely difficult there. So difficult relationships as well, because Venus ruling the 7th. You think about Yoko Ono with this debilitated Venus. But in any case, that's John Lennon. Opposite the Mercury in Scorpio, definitely getting dark vibes, making sense of his drug habits and early death and demise. Ascendant Lord in Libra, which is in detriment, right? So when the ascendant Lord, when the self is in detriment, there can be many problems, including early death, poor health, struggles with the body. It depends on which sign and house, but Sun, even though it's out of sign, still conjunct Neptune, so very creative, but Neptunian problems. Right. Sixth Lord in Scorpio and 8th, so I mean that's not bad. It's 7th, but moving into the 8th. So in Scorpio, it's not great. Any case, John Lennon, kind of this long-lasting creativity, this lasts through time, epic, enduring, but problems with depression for sure. All right, let's go. All right, so who else is in Taurus? It's Bruce Lee, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Ringo Starr, Faye Dunaway, Frank Zappa, Pele, Raquel Welch, Tom Jones, and Hayao Miyazaki. He's the Japanese anime artist who did Princess Mononoke. So a lot of artists, a lot of singers. Bruce Lee is a fighter, so mixed, but a lot of creatives in Taurus, obviously. Creative types, definitely. Let's go look at Gemini. In Gemini, there's not too many, because there wasn't an actual conjunction in Gemini. It's just there happened to be after the Taurus, the last Taurus conjunction, Saturn and Jupiter happened to be in range for a little while, and so there's a few. So just this little pump, who's this obnoxious, disgusting young rapper, who has obviously Saturn and Jupiter in range. And yeah, so if you're born at that time around 2000, and you have Saturn, Jupiter, and Gemini, you might be a rapper, right? Maybe that's something you can pursue, rapping. Because also there's Na Jae-min, who's a Korean rapper, I guess. Rocco Ritchie, he's like, I'm not sure who Rocco Ritchie is, to be honest. I think he's related to Madonna. I kept redirecting and I looked him up and I can't remember. So he's insignificant, basically. And then Frankie Jonas, who is like the youngest Jonas. I think they call him the bonus Jonas. So anyway, you have all these great, wonderful combination in Gemini, but yeah, a little pump. He's a little punk, if you ask me. Definitely not something to admire. Anyway, let's move right along. But interesting, third house, Gemini, Saturn as a rapper. And he's not a very good rapper. He just repeats himself over and over and over again and just says the same words. Like, I don't know why he's famous. It's just ridiculous. But whatever, I guess. All right, let's go to Cancer. There's some much better ones coming up. And here we're going to look up Nostradamus. So Cancer, water. Nostradamus was the great prophet, psychic prophet, right? And he's got this Cancer stellium with Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and Chiron in the fourth house in Cancer. Mars is his ascendant lord, but Jupiter is exalted here. Saturn is in detriment. Mars is debilitated, but they're all bona fide by this moon in Scorpio, right? Because moon rules Cancer, Mars rules Scorpio. So there's actually mutual reception between Mars and moon, his ascendant lord and his eighth house lord. So this is very watery. Moon in Scorpio in the eighth house, very psychic, right? Especially when it's bona fide by Mars. And an exalted Jupiter, right? So there's a lot going on here. He's also got a wide, it's not showing it here, but this is a wide grand water trine with Uranus and Pisces in the 12th. This is also very psychic too, right? So you can see here that he has very, very powerful psychic energy, tapping into the nether and also North Node in Pisces. Right, Sun in Capricorn, conjunct the MC, Mercury, so he's going to be well known, famous, right? And then Neptune also in the 10th house. And then just let's look. Okay, so Mars is out of bounds. A lot of retros. Venus is very slow. I wonder how slow Venus is. Yeah, Venus is basically stationary. That's another thing. Where's Venus? Venus in Aquarius. That's basically stationary. And that is sextile Pluto, very psychic planet, and the ascendant in Aquarius. So Aquarius is not necessarily psychic, but it's very, very big-minded, very concerned with society. And in the 11th house, that's so I think that's a huge motivation for him. Like, he's very aware of what's going on in the world, and it's natural for him to be concerned and to care. Pluto's exactly trying the ascendant. Yeah, so fascinating. So Jupiter is ruling the 9th house, philosophy, religion, and 12th, creative, secret, mysticism. Saturn's ruling the 10th and 11th, career. So, yeah, 4th house, being at home. Cancer, it's just, it's very watery, very psychic, very mature. very long lasting, combining philosophy, secret, mysticism, and very high-minded as well, this Jupiter, because it's ruling the ninth. Pluto's in the ninth. It's ruling the 12th. Uranus is in the 12th. And yeah, very strong, connected to Moon. All right. Nostradamus. Galileo Galilei. So Galileo, he's more than a mention in the Queen song. Sandro Botticelli. He was an artist, Botticelli, fine artist. So these very high-minded people. But that's basically it in Cancer, because it was so long ago. There was no internet back then. I hate to break it to you, but 1503, no internet. So your chance to be famous, no Hollywood. It was much less. No music industry. Well, music industry was very local. Was, you played the wood instrument or whatever, all acoustic. In any case, Leo, we're going to skip right over Leo because it was so long ago and there's hardly any famous people in Leo. And Blaise Pascal, who was a, again, like a scientist, physicist, mathematician type person. That's the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in a lot of these signs will make that. This kind of high-minded scientist, philosophical scientist, right? And the guy who wrote Dangerous Liaisons, a film, Pierre Choderlo, I can't say De Laclas, anyway, Johann Caspar Lavater, who I can't remember who he is, maybe another scientist or something like that. So very few people, right, in Leo. So it's not great in Leo, and we're not going to have anyone in our lifetime in Leo. So let's just skip right over it. We'll go to Virgo. And we're going to go for an old, even though there's some modern ones in Virgo, we're going to go for an older one. Debussy. Because it just kind of gets overload when you're just doing like every single actor or mediocre singer, whatever, or even good singers. Like, in any case, Claude Debussy. He was a composer. He's one of the greats. Right? And so he has Jupiter and Saturn in Virgo. So Jupiter obviously is in detriment in Virgo, but this is in the second house. No, he's not a singer, but he's making music that is obviously very full of very sensual, right? Mercury is exalted, so that's quite good for this whole first, second house. Sun is in domicile, that's excellent. Moon is in Cancer, right? Mars is in Aries, so this guy's got it, he's got it good, right? Saturn is okay in Virgo. Square the nodes. Let's see. Saturn is ruling 6th and 7th. Jupiter is ruling 5th and 8th. So very deep, creative, passionate, hardworking, making it work. And Virgo is going to make it very, very refined, very puritanical, very perfectionist, right? And then he's got so many planets in dignity. It's just very high level, very extremely intelligent. Sun on the ascendant, so it's he's making a big name for himself. Very powerful career. Yeah. This is going to be a very, very extremely kind of contracted Saturnian kind of, even though it's creative, it's music, it's going to be dominated by Saturn. Saturn's stronger here, right? So it's hardworking and connecting with other people, personal. Some other people in Virgo who have the conjunction in Virgo is Michelle Williams. She's an actress. Macaulay Culkin. Not Edvard Munch. The other one. There's two of them. Bud Debussy, Nancy Reagan, Mayor M. Shell Rothschild, the Jewish banker, Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt is the other one. So there's something about Saturn and Jupiter and Virgo that makes you do this. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. Lana Turner and Timothy Leary. So interesting. Timothy Leary was like the 60s guru who said like tune in, drop out, something like that. I know I'm butchering it, but oh well. All right. Let's go to Libra. Libra, there's tons because obviously Saturn does well, and there was a Libran recently, you know, early 80s. So a lot of people, a lot of modern people. And this is Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman and I have a lot in common, by the way, because Scorpio ascendant, Sun in Gemini, 8th house, 11th house Virgo moon. Exactly. She's at my degree on the moon. So we have a lot of similarity. And I always liked the SNL sketch she did where she, I don't know if you guys saw her, she goes on SNL and she's all like this sweet, you know, little girl, cute. And then she's like, they do like this highly aggressive gangster rap skit with her where she's like, you know, being all angry and aggressive and yelling and screaming and, you know, being crude and cursing and drinking and effing shit up. All right. It's funny. But yeah, she's got 8th house Gemini sun. So she's probably into a lot of similar stuff to I am, like, you know, astrology, occultism, whatnot. She has a shyness about her that comes from the 8th house sun, and it's going to take her longer to get success because that's also something about the 8th house. You know, it doesn't shine very brightly in the 8th, but she's done amazingly well for herself, probably because North Node's in Leo. And she's landed some incredible roles, and she does them very well, in my opinion. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree. And then she's got this Saturn. I mean, this is probably why Saturn in Libra conjunct Jupiter, right? And although it's in the 12th whole sign, it's still in the 11th. And it's also part of this grand air trine, right? Which is a kite, in fact, because, well, the nodes, but, you know, Mars in Gemini and Saturn in Libra and Jupiter in Libra. And Saturn is ruling the 3rd and 4th. So early rise and 3rd house communicating, right? Jupiter ruling the 5th house of entertainment and 2nd house of voice. So 2nd and 3rd, 5th, 4th. So early rise to, you know, speaking, expressing, creative, acting. But she can play dark, heavy roles with an 8th house Sun and Mars. Mars is in the 7th quadrant, but 8th whole sign house. And then same with Mercury and Venus. Also, that's a very good combination to have, generally speaking, because Mercury's stationary. Okay, so that's extremely powerful as well. And Mercury's ruling her 8th house, so disposing her Sun and Mars, and her 11th house, so her career success. And it's conjunct Venus, so definitely successful. Right? But she can play darker roles with this 8th house Sun, 8th house ruling the MC. Dark roles, dark movies, Scorpio ascendant, right? Mars is here in Gemini, so communicating. She plays, I mean, I like the role she plays. I mean, maybe it's not, I don't think it's biased because she has a very similar chart to mine. It's just that I like the authenticity. I like the kind of quirkiness, the, you know, slightly nerdy. I don't know. She's pretty good, I think. So anyway. And she definitely has that Scorpio rising kind of look, very exotic. right? Scorpio rising, especially with Uranus and Scorpio. Yeah. What else can I say? Saturn obviously is stronger than Jupiter here in Libra, and Saturn and Jupiter in Libra. There's so many famous people. I mean, this is a really, really strong combination because Saturn does so well. So it really brings a lot of success. A lot of the times Saturn will restrict people, but if it's in good sign, good dignity, then that restriction is alleviated by a lot, right? So career success is good to go, and in fact, elongated, right, lengthened. She can have a long, successful career with this, right? Not short-lived. Maybe not as creative as, you know, she's not going to be an artist, musician, but you know, as long as she has somebody kind of some structure to follow, she can, you know, do extremely well. Which is what actors have. They have a script to follow, right? They're not creating, they're not writing their own lines usually. And so in Libra, and by the way, I left out a ton of people in Libra, as well as Virgo and Taurus, because these are all modern times. In any case, Beyonce, Chris Evans, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, Paris Hilton, Ryan Gosling Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, Jessica Alba, and there were so many more. Okay. Let's move on to Scorpio, and we're going to skip over Scorpio, but I'll tell you who is in it, and you'll see why. So Muhammad, but the question, the date is in question, so I looked it up. I was like, it's not worth pulling it up because if it's not accurate, you can just picture it. It's in Scorpio, Muhammad. Okay, so religious, mystical, but kind of fear, and that kind of, you know, you almost get the feeling of Islam with that as well. Islam is kind of scorpionic. I mean, let's just be real. Like, they're vicious. They can't. I don't mean to disparage them. I actually love the Sufi mystics. I think they're very mystical, very spiritual, very enlightened. But there's a lot of that is very brutal in Islam. In any case, he had it supposedly, and it kind of makes sense, right? Like, because they're not afraid of killing people. They're not afraid of pushing off the roof if you're gay, right? Or just like dominating and controlling women is kind of one of their big things. Dominating and controlling as much as they can, because they pretty much have monoculture, or like they don't tolerate any. That's a Scorpio thing. I mean, Scorpios, I mean, let's just be real. Scorpios love to control. They love to dominate. They want total control. They're very jealous. They, you know, all power goes to Scorpio, right? So, but deep, authentic, mystical, you know, devoted, right? So that does seem to fit. Also Pompey, who is not just a place, I don't even know. Pompey, I think he's like a Roman something or other. And then Henry IV of Castile and Bianca Maria Visconti. So very few people, right? And it's such a long time ago. All 16th century or before, mostly royalty. And then Sagittarius, kind of similar. Nicola Paganini, who is a violinist. So Sagittarius, Jupiter's going to be strong, but still, it's so long ago that I don't know. There wasn't that many, but Niccolo Paganini is like a violinist. So you can see in Sagittarius, where Jupiter's strong, you have a more creative type of conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. But we're not going to witness this in our lifetime. We're not going to see Sagittarius. So yeah, I mean the air conjunctions of Jupiter and Saturn are going to last almost 200 years, 180 years about. So we'll all be dead before it mutates into. I think the next one is water. Could be wrong. I think it's water. Yeah. Any case. Yeah, it would have to be water. Any case. So that's Sagittarius, and you'd think it'd be quite good, but I mean, probably if it happened nowadays, there would be many amazing artists, right? Artists and philosophers, Jupiterians. All right, so in Capricorn, we're going to go to the great trumpet player, Mr. Armstrong. First name, Louis. Okay, he's awesome. Louis Armstrong. I actually used to listen to him a lot because he plays great music. And he's just so happy. Like, he's so upbeat. He's so optimistic. And so he's got Moon, Moon and Aries in the first house, or not quite in the first, conjunct the ascendant in any case. And you can see that with his face, right? Moon conjunct the ascendant tends to make people with very moony type faces, right? The opposite Mars. But he's got this tremendous Capricorn, Saturn conjunct the MC. So very strong career, right? Very long-lasting, authoritative career, like the leader, authority, expert, right? Jupiter does not do well in Capricorn, but Saturn it does, and so Saturn leads the way. Right? He was raised by a Jewish family, interestingly enough, and let's see, Mars is bonifying this Moon. He was an orphan, a Jewish family raised him, and let's see. Oh yeah, Mars and Saturn. So he's got a Leo sun, and then Mars and Saturn are mutual reception by exaltation. Right? Saturn's exalted in Libra, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So that's quite good. Saturn's ruling the MC and the 11th house. So career success, that's all, very well dignified. Jupiter, 9th house and 12th house. So philosophy, religion, spirituality, that's all being taken over by Capricorn. It's going to be a very Capricornian kind of spirituality and philosophy. And I wouldn't say, like, I don't know personally, like, I obviously never met Louis Armstrong, and I didn't read much about him, but he seems so happy, right? He always seems so positive. And I think that's because his optimism and faith were guided by this very strong Saturn, right? His career, his success, and in fact, I think his roots also were, so this also this Moon is trine the Sun, and Sun is exalted in Aries. So Mars ruling Aries. So this quite exact. So Moon ruling the 4th house shows that he actually had a good childhood. Even though Moon in Aries is not great, it's not terrible, but because Sun and Mars are bonifying it, and it's going right into basically conjunct the ascendant, shows that his childhood, his roots were good. Yes. And then he's got a, third, so trumpet, South Node. What's interesting, South Node in Taurus, 2nd house, Venus in Virgo. So he's got a growly voice, but it's not unpleasant. I mean, it's very nice. South Node in Taurus. Just South Node in Taurus in the 2nd house. I mean, it's Taurus and 2nd, so it's doubled over. But still, just South Node. Because the Venus is in Virgo, it's not in good dignity, but it's in the 5th. But that's interesting. So that's what the kind of voice you get with South Node in Taurus in the 2nd. And trumpet would be more 3rd house, and Gemini, so Pluto and Gemini, Mercury, Cancer. So from a young age, playing with trumpet. Yeah, just really interesting combination. Saturn strong is definitely going to give like a very authoritarian, masterful kind of person in their field, and I think that fits them very well. Somebody who's just an expert. And so who else is in Capricorn? Walt Disney, Julian Moore, JFK Jr., Marlene Dietrich, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Clark Gable, Heather Locklear. And there were many more that I just that was enough to fill the requirements. So yeah, that's the conjunction in Capricorn. It's very strong and will create a lot of authority and mastery. Potential depression, I would say, but I guess it depends on other factors. But Saturn gives the ability to endure any hardship and difficulty, right? Never gives up. So in Aquarius, you'd have to go way back, right? Way back before the internet, right? I'm being sarcastic. It's like 1400s or something like that. So the only person I have for Aquarius is Constantine VI, a Palaiologos, who was, I guess, the Roman emperor. Okay, who cares, right? We're not. The only Aquarius we have right now anymore is in 2020, and they're little kids. So we'll see when we're older. Like 20 years from now, we'll start to see the rise of the Aquarians. We'll probably have some brilliant geniuses in that era. You know, some people who are just like, you know, very masterful with society, technology, AI as well, but very awake, very aware. Many geniuses in science and progressive type stuff. In Pisces, let's pull up another great scientist, Newton, Isaac Newton. So we're going way back for Pisces, but this is excellent because Jupiter is very strong in Pisces, right? And this is the 5th house, and so Saturn is creating, you know, bringing in a very scientific quality to high philosophy, high-minded, creative philosophy. So Newton was a discoverer also. Scorpio ascending with Uranus in Scorpio in the 1st house, like myself. Interesting, right? Rebellious, independent-minded, brilliant, inventive, you know, awakened, so to speak. Capricorn Sun. Let's see here. Okay, so nothing really stands out there. Moon in Cancer, Jupiter in Pisces. That's all really good, but no mutual receptions. Okay. Jupiter is ruling the 2nd house of knowledge. Obviously, it's other things as well, but in relation to the intellect, 2nd house rules knowledge because it's resources, so stored information. Mercury, not so good in Sag, but does lend itself well to philosophical things, not small-minded things. And, well, there is a wide square, more from Saturn. As Saturn to Mercury is very scientific. It kind of contracts it. Right? So there's some connection there. That's not bad. Right? So Jupiter's going the 2nd, and the 5th, though, obviously. 5th for education, general knowledge, general education. Also, notice the trine between Uranus and Scorpio, trine Jupiter, and a little wider Saturn. And so Uranus exalted in Scorpio, so brilliant, kind of connected to the Jupiter here. And then Saturn ruling the 3rd for intellect, also Sun in the 3rd and 4th, you know, with Venus here. And then the Sun sextile Jupiter. Pluto and Chiron and Gemini, moon in the 9th. So obviously very strong 9th house with Cancer moon here, which relates to Jupiter. So wisdom, higher-mindedness, philosophical, Mercury and Sag, right? Mars and Taurus. That's his ascendant lord. That's not great. But interesting nonetheless. He lived a long life despite his ascendant lord being in debility, which isn't always the case, but he must have been pretty aggressive and personal. First, Mars in the 7th has difficulty with relationships, and they're quite aggressive because they're always like two other, like in their personal relationships, always very Martian. Neptune is in the 2nd, so it's providing imagination, connected to Pluto. So very, also the ascendant. So yeah, so he's very imaginative and then kind of deep thinking as well. Yeah, the Jupiter and Saturn is just creating that math and philosophical bridge. Math, science, just hard-mindedness, right? But Jupiter in Pisces is very expansive and imaginative. And so it's kind of like this yin and yang combination that does very well in certain signs. Obviously, Jupiter in Pisces is going to be excellent. Getting the Uranian inventiveness, so ability to think outside the box. It's connected to his sun in Capricorn. Actually, Saturn is it's not exactly, but it's connected to Jupiter. So by Jupiter, it's bonifying the sun because the sun is in Saturn's sun. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to take too long here, but yeah. So Jupiter and Saturn in Pisces can be very good for obviously creative stuff, but also math, science, philosophy, that sort of thing. Jupiter and Saturn a lot of times in combinations will create a sort of intellectual philosopher, or yeah, like a philosophy that is also scientific at the same time. So, in any case, that is Jupiter and Saturn conjunction as far as it's concerned with profiles, psychological profiles in people and success and all that. All right, guys, I hope you found this interesting. Please hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. My class will be on January 14th, so leave me an email. Drop me an email if you want to get on the list. If you're already on the list, I'll automatically email you. And book a reading with me. My website is macroastrology.com. My email is macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And thanks, guys. I will see you again soon. All right, bye.